Welcome back to Wired to be Rich, everybody. As you know, if you're new here, hi, welcome to my channel. And if you've been here, you already know how we do. This is not the space where we sugarcoat things or dress up our habits in cute languages just to feel better about them, right? We're not here to play small. We're not here to perform growth. We're definitely not here to keep looping in the same patterns while calling it alignment, healing, or divine timing, you guys, because let's be honest, a lot of what people are calling alignment right now is just comfort or familiarity, or it's just them staying emotionally tied to versions of themselves they've already outgrown. And I'll be real with y'all, I almost didn't record this episode literally because it's about a dream I had, and I was very close to holding it, sitting on it a little bit longer, because I'm big on living something through before I speak on it. I don't like getting on here and just talking off the dome, you guys, because I'll get lost and scattered brain and we'll all be confused. But if I'm saying something, it's because I have felt it. I've seen it. I've had that moment where it locks in and there's no going back to who I was before I understood it. And that's exactly what happened, because a lot of us right now, sometimes we get in that mindset of thinking that we're being delayed. You may think something is being withheld from you. You may think there's this invisible pause on your life. Like things just haven't lined up quite like you want them to yet, right? Or like it's not the right time, or like you're waiting for something to click into place so everything can finally start moving. And it sounds good. It feels comforting. It gives you something to hold on to, but it's also not true, because what if I told you you're not waiting at all for anything? Nothing is actually paused, you guys. Nothing is sitting there like, let's hold off on their life for just a second. Everything in your life is moving. The opportunities, the timelines, the version of you that keeps saying you're becoming. It's all in motion. The only thing that's happening right now is that you keep stepping out of your position. You keep removing yourself from the very path that would literally lead you to what you're asking for, and then calling it a delay instead of calling it what it actually is. A pattern, a choice, or a loop. So if you're ready, let's get right into it.
She's not just a podcast host. She's a movement.
Manda Lea is teaching people how to break cycles and build real wealth, mentally, financially, and spiritually.
People all over the world are waking up to her message.
Wired to be Rich isn't just a podcast. It's a mindset shift.
She makes you believe again in yourself, in your power, in your ability to actually have the life you always known was meant for you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Manda Lea, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Balance and Destiny, and this is Wired to be Rich. So I had a dream, you guys, and it felt like I was literally pulled out of my body and placed above my life. And this is not the first time I've had a dream like this before. And it's not the first time that the man that was in my dream showed up and showed me something before either. We'll get into that in just a second. But like I said, I wasn't alone. So let's just start. Let me just show y'all, or help tell y'all, what the dream was about. So in the dream, there was someone with me, a presence that I felt before. Like I said, it was a man. I don't know if I know this man in real life, but every single time I'm actually being shown something or being told something that actually turns out to like benefit me in my real actual waking life, it's always the same guy. He shows up in my dreams like this when, like I said, I'm being shown something or I need to understand something. Call it God, my higher self, an ancestor, guide, whatever you want. But I felt familiar and intentional, like I wasn't guessing what I was seeing. I was being walked through it, and I could see my entire timeline laid out in front of me. Picture this with me, you guys. Your life as one long line stretched out in front of you. Everything is on it. Your past, where you are right now, and everything ahead. It's all there at the same time, already placed. That's exactly what I was looking at, you guys. And it was linear in a sense that everything was in order. You could follow it point by point. But at the same time, I didn't feel like things were being created as you go. It felt like everything had already existed, and I was just moving through it, experiencing it in sequence. And as I'm looking at this from above with this man, and he's showing me, I can see certain points on the line that I just knew were specific to me. Well, everything on the line was specific to me, but there were certain points that were very important, obviously, that I was being shown. There are moments, experiences, things I want, things that I've been moving toward. They were all there already, fixed, not shifting, not disappearing. It was me that was moving. But everything that I wanted when it comes down to just my own personal wants, that's inside of my brain and for me and God to know. But it was literally everything was already there, you guys. I just had to keep moving through it. It was so weird. So here's the part that really got me. I could see how different choices affected when I reached those points, right? And he was showing me, he was like, let's say, I'm not going to tell y'all exactly the things that I want because that's near and dear to my heart. But let's say I wanted another Shih Tzu dog. Well, that want had already manifested and it was created in a part of my timeline already. So I was being shown that I'm going to get that dog, but it might have been like, in 2 months, right? But if I keep going back and saying, oh, I'm going to get this dog instead, I'm going to get that dog, or let's say I buy a poodle because I just can't wait for the Shih Tzu and I'm so eager to just to have some dog, just have some kind of replication of an animal. I get a poodle. Well, I'll still get that Shih Tzu, but it's going to take me longer to get it because I've added time to that. I don't know. It was weird. So let's just keep going because I want to try to understand what I mean. So like I said, I could see how different choices affected when I reached those points. So imagine you're moving along your timeline, right? You're just naturally progressing. Some decisions keep you in a direct flow, like you're meeting those moments exactly where they're set to happen. And it feels clean, like things connect, there's no resistance, you're just moving. That's that right on time feeling. And then there are other choices. And instead of removing anything or changing what's yours, they stretch the space between you and those moments, right? The distance increases, not because anything left, but because your movement changed. So now, instead of reaching that same moment at one point, you're meeting it later. And I'm watching this happen, and I can feel that he's showing me this on purpose. He's like literally having a conversation with me, the guy in my dream. He's like, look at this clearly. Nothing is being taken away from you. Nothing is being denied. Everything that's yours is already yours, and it's here on your timeline in the exact place that it needs to be. But your experience of when you arrive there, that's what shifts. And what made it hit even harder was how neutral it all felt. There was no judgment in it, no sense that I was doing something wrong or right at all. It was just a cause and effect. Certain ways of moving kept me aligned with where I was on the timeline, and other ways created more distance. And I remember saying in that moment, I was like, I don't understand. And it was just kind of confusing to me. But if you think about it, in our real lives, we say we want something. We can see it for ourselves. We feel like it's already ours, but then our actions don't match that version of us. And instead of questioning the actions, we question the timing. But in the dream, timing wasn't random, it was responsive. And that's when it fully clicked for me. It's not about whether something is meant for you. If it's meant for you, it's already on your timeline, you guys. It's already a part of your path and a part of your journey. It already exists. The real question is how you're moving right now and whether your choices are bringing you straight to it or slowly stretching the distance between you and it. This is where people get it wrong. And I want you to actually hear this without trying to make it softer than what it is, y'all. You say you want the upgraded life, the better relationship, the money, the peace, the clarity. I don't doubt that. But when you really look at how you're moving day to day, a lot of your decisions are still tied to former versions of yourself or your past, right? You're still giving energy to things that drain you, still entertaining situations that confuse you, still holding on to habits that don't match the version of you that's asking for more. And it's not, always obvious. We don't always do things from a conscious standpoint. A lot of our actions are subconscious because it's like programmed. And those are the moments where you just respond to things to respond to them. It's about what you keep revisiting mentally, what you keep trying to control instead of letting it be what it is. When I think back to that dream, it makes this very clear. If everything you want already exists on your timeline, then nothing is being taken from you. It's not disappearing. It's not being blocked. What's happening is your choices are either keeping you aligned with it or extending the time it takes for you to experience it. So let's say there's a relationship that you want so very badly, right? Someone you feel so strongly about, and deep down you feel like it's not over. If that connection is truly meant to come back around, then it's still on your timeline, you guys. It didn't go anywhere. But what people do is they keep re-engaging early on. They text again, they check in, they try to control how it plays out. They don't fully let it end. And what that does is it interrupts what actually needs to happen for both people to grow into the version of themselves that could meet again in a different way. So instead of letting that process happen, you keep pulling it back into its old form. And now, instead of the relationship disappearing, you just added more time until y'all reunion because you're avoiding the space that's required for it to come back correctly. Like I said, if it's meant to be, it's still yours, but you're just stretching when you experience it. So let's say, for instance, like this person, you and this person are meant to reconnect again, but it may not be for another 8 months. You broke up with this person or they broke up with you, and they're still meant for you in some capacity, whether it's romantic or just closure or apology. We don't know, right? Just anything. You're meant to reconnect with them in some capacity, but it could be 8 months from now. But if you keep re-engaging early on and trying to make things work, then you're ultimately adding time to y'all's reunion because you're getting in the way of the healing and the processing and the growth that needs to happen. So what could have only took 8 months now takes 12. Do you get what I'm saying? Let's say the same thing with money. You say you're meant for wealth. You can feel it, right? You see it for yourself. But instead of staying consistent and allowing that path to unfold, you keep switching directions. New job, new idea, new identity every few months, new thing to do. You don't sit long enough in one lane to actually let it build into something real. So now it's not that wealth isn't yours. It's still in your timeline, but you keep adding layers to how long it takes to reach you because you're not letting anything stabilize long enough to compound. You're constantly restarting your own progress and your own process. And this isn't just some abstract idea. Even in physics, you guys, there's this understanding that I read a lot, okay? So there's this understanding that time isn't as fixed as we experience it. People like Albert Einstein have talked about how the past, present, and the future can all exist at once. The only thing you can't undo, though, is your past. And what we experience is just our movement through it. So, if that's the case, then it makes sense that your experience of when things happen can shift based on how you move. So, when your actions don't match where you say you're going, you're not being blocked, you guys. You're choosing something else in real time. You're aligning with a different version of your life and then expecting the same outcome to meet you at the same point. And it doesn't work like that, you guys, because every time you engage with something that doesn't match you anymore, you're reinforcing that version of what already manifested. You're keeping it active. You're showing through your behavior that this is still something you're available for. And life responds to that, not emotionally, not in a way that's trying to quote unquote teach you a lesson, just directly. If your actions match where you're going, things move that way. It's very simple. If your actions match where you've been, your experience starts to reflect that instead. So it's not about being denied anything. It's about being honest about what you're choosing because that's what's shaping how and when you experience what's already yours. Now, this is the part people don't want to hear, but it's actually the part that gives you the most control. The delay isn't coming from outside of you. It's not timing. It's not the universe deciding to slow things down. It's not something being held back. It's coming from the small, everyday choices you make that don't match where you say you're going. And I'm not talking about, huge, crazy decisions, you guys. I'm talking about the micro stuff, the quick little responses, the little compromises you make every single day, the moments where you know better but still go with what's familiar because it's easier in that moment. Because moving forward actually requires discipline. It requires you to leave certain things alone completely, not a little bit, not just this one time, but fully. And that's the part people avoid because it's uncomfortable, right? It feels like you're missing out. That's where FOMO comes in. Or like you're being too strict on yourself, or like you should at least get something out of it. And that's where the mindset comes in. Anything is plenty, or this is better than nothing. And it sounds harmless. It sounds, you know, like a healthy detachment, but that's the exact thinking that keeps you tied to things that don't match you anymore. Because now you're accepting partial versions of what you wanted instead of holding your position for the full thing. So instead of waiting for the relationship that actually meets you where you are, you entertain something that's inconsistent because it's there and it responds fast and you're bored. Instead of building something solid financially, you keep jumping to whatever feels like a quick win in the moment because it gives you something right now. Instead of sitting in that space where growth happens, you fill it with whatever is easiest to access. And none of that removes what you actually want. It just adds time to it. Because every time you choose what's easy, what's instant, what's familiar, you're choosing to stay in a version of your life that doesn't match the outcome you're asking for. So now your timeline adjusts around that. The life you say you want requires consistency. It requires you to stay with the version of yourself that matches it. Even when nothing exciting is happening, even when it feels slow, even when there's something easier right in front of you. Let's look at dating. Like, this is one of the biggest lessons that I'm having to navigate. It really not even a lesson because I'm actively choosing to be very intentional on like who I spend my time with. Dating is very easy, you guys. It's us that puts pressure on it. If you go outside, you're bound to meet somebody. There's bound to be someone attracted to you. There's bound to be someone that asks you out on a date. I mean, it's just very, very easy to meet people and like go out with them. But when you're easily available for just anything that walks your way, then you accept anything that walks your way. This is how people end up in situations where they're attracted to someone, but the person lacks depth, or they have a very big and vast dating life, but it's filled with a bunch of people that are like boring or inconsistent or unhealed or just immature. It's just like, you have to be disciplined in multiple areas of your life in order to, in order to fully live the version of yourself that you want to live. Because those small moments, like I said, are what either keep you moving directly toward what's already yours or slowly stretching the time it takes for you to experience it. So like I said, the delay that you may feel on receiving things is self-created. The delay on getting married, the delay on the career you want, the delay on getting that dream dog, whatever it is, it really is self-created. But that's also why it's fixable. Now, what settled me after that dream wasn't what I saw. It was what it removed. It removed the idea that something meant for you can just disappear, right? If it's truly meant for you, it stays. It doesn't get taken away or it doesn't expire. It doesn't suddenly become unavailable because you didn't do everything perfectly. It remains on your timeline. But the other side, the caveat to that is you also have an understanding that if it's truly not meant for you, that's why it's not coming back and it's for your better good. If something doesn't like re-evolve or there is something that you think you want that you don't end up getting, it's not because you weren't good enough. It's because that it just wasn't a part of your path. And that should kind of give you some kind of like healing too, because wow, thank God, that was removed, because if it wasn't, how detrimental that would have been? Think about that. What changes is how long it takes for you to experience it. And like I'll keep saying, and that's a different kind of responsibility, because now it's not about trying to control outcomes or force things to happen. It's about how steady you are in how you move. A lot of people don't realize how often they reset themselves. Not in a loud, obvious way, but in small shifts. You decide who you are, what you're aligned with, how you're moving. And then something comes up and you adjust. And then something else comes up and then you adjust again. And over time, you've changed your pace without even realizing it. You didn't lose anything, but you changed your relationship to it. And when your rhythm keeps changing, your experience of everything else shifts with it. So it's not about going backwards or losing progress. It's not a real thing. We're never going backwards. And anyone who has that mindset, shake that, because you can't go backwards, because scientifically, you literally can't undo the past. There's nothing there for you to go back to. It's just about how often you keep interrupting your own consistency. This is what people mean when you got to lock in. It's not about getting on that hamster wheel, powering yourself out, burning yourself out, doing the most, continuing to take matters into your own hand and force outcomes that just aren't ready to manifest yet. Locking in is exactly what I said, you guys. Not disrupting your own consistency and staying disciplined and true to, you got to know your path, know yourself, and then know your path. That is the two biggest things I teach on here. It's not about if you can get a good job, if you can get a degree. Like, those are all materialistic, worldly things, and it's easily attainable by anybody that wants it. But you have to know yourself in order to know your own path. And once you know those two things, you stop letting things get in the way. You stop holding on to bullshit, and you stop trying to force outcomes that aren't even yours to begin with. So, like I said, every time you move out of alignment with the version of you that matches what you say you want, you're creating more space between you and it. Not removing it, you guys. You're just extending when you meet it. And this is where it gets real, because once you see that, you can't keep blaming timing the same way. You start noticing how often you break your own momentum, how often you move off what you already decided, how often you let temporary things redirect you. But when you stop doing that, when you actually hold your position, when your actions stay consistent regardless of what shows up in front of you or who shows up in front of you, everything starts to feel more direct. And then you start holding yourself accountable. It's not timing. It isn't because this. It's just because you are delaying your own progress. So if it's meant for you, it's not going anywhere, like I said. The only question is how long you take to meet it based on how you choose to move. Now, let's bring this down to something very simple and real. If your timeline already exists, and if what's meant for you is already on it, right, then manifestation isn't about trying to get anything. It's about how clean you keep your movement towards it. And discipline is what keeps that clean, not in a strict robotic way, but in a way where you constantly will, in a way where you're not constantly interfering with your own direction, where you're not making emotional, impulsive decisions that shift your pace every time something feels good in the moment. So now I see manifesting differently, because actually, you guys, you don't actually quote unquote manifest anything in the way people say, right? You aren't like having a thought and wishing it into existence. I know that industry is popping, but I'm gonna be real with y'all. You don't manifest anything. You just simply decide, you guys, and you can only truly decide on things that are meant for you. Does that make sense? I really hope it does, because if it does for you guys, drop me a comment, drop me a DM, because I'm happy to go into this deeper. But you can only decide things that are meant for you. Like, you can't manifest your way into marrying Drake. You can't manifest your way into sharing a drink with Rihanna. If it's not meant for you, you know how people say, like, fated meetings are not, is it fate, or is it just a part of your journey? You know what I'm saying? Yes, fated moments exist, but you don't manifest these grand things. See, it already is either aligned with you or it's not. So you just decide something. Your mind doesn't lock onto something deeply unless there's some level of alignment there. You can fantasize about anything, but when something feels real to you, when you can see it clearly, when it stays on your mind in a steady way, that's different. But that decision by itself isn't enough. It's the commitment to that decision that matters. So, like, for instance, when you say you want something so badly and you can see it, you can smell it, you can feel it, because it's already yours. It really is. It's not something you want. It's something that a future version of you already has. And it's your path to getting there is dependent on you and how often you keep entertaining things that aren't aligned with you, how often you stay stuck to friendships that don't grow you, how often you stay in relationships that don't heal you, how often you stay in jobs that don't support you. It's all you. Nobody else, nothing else is getting in your own way, you guys. And I really want that to be understood. The truth is, most of the delay doesn't come from big mistakes, though. It comes from inconsistency, from constantly adjusting, like we talked about earlier, constantly reacting to something, constantly letting what's in front of you dictate how you move, or staying anchored in the way of what you have already decided, from constantly looking for some kind of outside validation or support or love or comfort, or constantly chasing a goal. I'm not saying you have to just do nothing, but what I am saying is when you're constantly distracting yourself with things you want, you miss out on what's actually right in front of you and what you actually need. And what's right in front of you is everything that your heart already desires. You just have to kind of let your foot up off the gas and stop getting in your own way. Look at it like this. You set a direction for yourself, whether that's in relationships, money, lifestyle, whatever it is. And instead of staying with it, you keep bending. You speed up when you feel motivated. You slow down when you don't. You entertain things that don't fully match just because they're there. And over time, that creates And when your movement is scattered, your timeline feels stretched. Not because anything changed, but because you're not moving in a straight line towards it anymore. Discipline is what removes that, you guys. It's what keeps your decisions consistent even when your emotions aren't. It's what keeps your movement steady regardless of what shows up. It's what allows things to build without you interrupting them every few weeks with a new direction or a new reaction or a new person or a new thing. Right? Because when your movement is steady, your experience becomes more direct. Less back and forth, less stretching things out, less adding time where it doesn't need to be added. So it's not about doing more or trying harder or forcing anything. It's about deciding what you want, deciding what's meant for you. Meditation is also key, you guys, because God will talk to you if you listen. And then committing to that decision in a way that doesn't keep shifting you. Because once that stabilizes, everything else meets you a lot cleaner, and what we perceive as timing of it all, a lot faster. If you take anything from this episode, let it be this, you guys. You're not blocked. Nothing meant for you has disappeared, and you're not behind in the way you think you are. If something is truly meant for you, it's still there on your timeline. That part doesn't change. What does matter is how honest you're willing to be about how you're moving. Because what you want isn't something you're waiting on. It already exists. It's already in motion. The only thing that's shifting is how long it takes for you to experience it based on your decisions and how consistent you are with them. So it really comes down to this. Are you staying aligned with what you decide, or are you moving in ways that keep stretching the distance without realizing it? Because once you see this, it stops being about hoping things work out and starts being about how steady you can be in your own direction. I love you guys as always, and if this episode hit for you, send it to someone who says they want more but keeps moving in ways that don't match it, or they're forcing outcomes that aren't aligned with them, or just overly anxious, right? That's where anxiety also stems from too. Ourselves. It's self-manifested. Because sometimes you don't need more information, you just need a clearer perspective. And if you want to connect with me, you already know where to find me. Instagram at ForbesManda_, or email me at info@balancedestiny.com, and I will link those both in the show notes below. I will talk to y'all in the next episode. See y'all next week. Bye.